how do you be courageous in a way that's correct for you? And that's where alignment comes in. It's like, I'm doing this not only because I'm afraid, because for me, in my world, this is the right thing to do. This is what I believe is where I'm going. And if this is the way that it's going to take me, this is the way I'm going.
Okay, so I understand that this is different. But what do you mean by alignment?
In the book of the alignment quotient, I have a very specific definition for alignment, right? It's the ability to have an integrity between who you are, means who you are being with purpose, and maintain alignment between that and your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your feelings, despite the situation or circumstances. So it's really about you being you, and then understanding you have thoughts, you have feelings, you have emotions, you have all this other stuff. And then it's creating a deep and profound alignment between those things using integrity. And that means, it doesn't matter what's happening around you. And I actually came up with this idea originally from Viktor Frankl in his books Man's Search for Meaning, where he goes through his experience as a prisoner in a concentration camp of World War II. And the story that's told in that book is always very touching to me, because he was a psychiatrist. He was put in charge of the hospital in the camp, and during that time period, food was scarce. People got a ration of food per day, and food was life. And he noticed, and it was an obvious problem, that some people would break into the hospital and steal the rations from the sick and dying people because food was life. And this is something that we would expect, right? If food is scarce and people get desperate and they do desperate things. But he said one of the things that was very strange that he noticed was that some people would come into the hospital to give some of their ration to the sick and the dying, which could mean their own death. And he said there really wasn't any other way to explain this except for what I call alignment, which is people decided to be who they were and not let the situation impact that. Who they were was this. They were somebody who was helping people in need, and they weren't going to allow this situation to change who they were. And now in that particular camp, everybody died. All the people died. So the ones who stole and the ones who gave, both of them died. In the end, that's the reality. But the fact that people could shocked him in that situation. And it was really a surprising thing that he chewed on for a long time. And when I read that, I'm like, wow, that is profound. That is interesting. And a lot of us have had that experience in our lives where we've met people that make decisions that hurt themselves, but it's the right thing to do. And these are, his example was very extreme, right? But we see this in our everyday lives of people standing up and saying, hey, look, this is what's going on, but so what? I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And then we give these people this name of being courageous or having courage, but in fact, it's alignment. So courage for me at least typically means you go forward in life even if you're afraid. So you're doing something that's right even if you're afraid, and that's true, and that's something somebody bestows on you. But how do you be courageous in a way that's correct for you? And that's where alignment comes in. It's like, I'm doing this not only because I'm afraid, because for me, in my world, this is the right thing to do. This is what I believe is where I'm going. And if this is the way that it's going to take me, this is the way I'm going. And I'm not going to allow the situation or the circumstances or other people, or even some of the fears and the anxieties my brain's telling me, to skew me away from being in alignment with who I am. And so that's what it means. It really is this profound level of alignment that comes from deep inside, comes from a choice in the end.
Interesting. Where does this idea come from?
So, there's actually a lot of different places it comes from. And I was quite shocked at how common it is. And I wish I could take credit for it. But the ancient Stoics, right, were very big on some of these concepts that I talk about in the book. Religions are big on this, right? So religions have this idea of alignment, of course, said in a different way. If you look at a lot of the Christian faiths, they have this thing, what would Jesus do, right? They wear this thing as a reminder of how to stay aligned with the state of being of Jesus, right? So that's a Christian idea, but not only. In fact, all the major religions have these ideas. And I've been shocked talking to different religions about these ideas, and Muslims and Jews and Christians and Buddhists and Hindus, and everybody kind of has some connection to these concepts. So I can't really claim any sort of uniqueness to that. Like for me, at least, the ancient Stoics were very big on this concept. Even looking back to Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, and I mean, these guys, you're talking thousands of years of history. So it comes from that. And then it's blended a little bit with existentialism. And existentialism is brilliant in the sense that, I mean, Jean-Paul Sartre, he talked a lot about what is the world, right? Like you don't even know what's real and what's not real. You have no connection to this. And maybe there is nothing, right? He wrote his famous book, Being in Nothingness, which I don't recommend reading because it's super long and very hard to comprehend. But a simple example he gave was imagine a young man who is faced with a decision, a dilemma. He can either go off to a war that he really believes in fighting for this cause, or he can stay back and care for his ailing mother. He's got to decide. He can't be in both places at once. If he stays back and takes care of his mother, he misses out on the bigger vision of the world, the bigger focus of the world. But he makes a huge difference for this one person who's important to him. And if he goes off to war, he'll never see her again. If he goes off to war, he might make a difference, but it'll be a teeny tiny difference for a big cause. Which does he choose? And it's a brilliant dilemma because there's no right answer, right? Both decisions could be right depending upon what he chose, and he has to be the one who chooses. But there isn't an answer. And a lot of times we're looking for certainty and an answer to something. And in fact, there is no way to have certainty. There's no right way. There's the way I choose. And most of the decisions in our lives are like this. But we fret over them for so long, and we worry about, what if we're wrong, and about our regrets. And so being able to make those decisions from a deep foundation and go, okay, both decisions could have been great. This is the one I chose, point. And why did I choose it? Because it's aligned with who I am. And that's just a different way of approaching things. So, between philosophy and religion and also the neuroscience, because I've been shocked of the depth of the neuroscience and the social psychology that's involved in this. When you talk about how your brain functions and what it does, and deceptive brain messages, if you listen to Jeff Schwartz's stuff, or cognitive distortions, and how these things skew us away and they drive us away from what we know to be true about ourselves. And our brains scream at us, and they tell us, no, don't do that, don't do that. And we know that that's what we do, but it's just a fear. So all this was created with putting that all together, and really a lot of decades, in my part, of research and work on this stuff, putting it all together in order to come up with a process or a route, let's say, to begin a journey, a map for a journey through your life. That's really about this, all of these things brought together into let's say a journey, a map for a journey of your life.